As 1942 began, the Japanese continued their rapid advances in the Pacific and Southeast Asia. Places like Wake and Hong Kong had already fallen to them. As Allied forces continued to pull back in central Malaya, Kuantan, a coastal city just abreast of where Prince of Wales and Repulse had been lost barely 3 weeks earlier, was captured, which left the main road to Kuala Lumpur, the Malay capital, wide open. Nevertheless, the British and Indian troops continued their retreat. They'd already withdrawn to the south side of the Kuantan River on New Year's Eve. On the 3rd of January 1942, a Japanese attack on the rearguard near Kuantan airfield put the entire Allied force there at risk of being cut off. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Cumming, 44 years old, and a veteran of the Mesopotamian Campaign of the First World War, now commanding the 2nd Battalion of the 12th Frontier Force Regiment, gathered up a small party of men and counterattacked. Though every man in his party, including himself, was killed or wounded, the Japanese advance was stopped and the Allied withdrawal could continue. Although he'd been wounded twice in the abdomen by bayonets, he didn't leave the area, instead driving around in a carrier, helping to collect small groups of men and prevent their capture. While doing this, he was wounded twice more, finally passed out in his carrier. Waking up again, he still insisted on looking for more men to assist. And realizing that he and the carrier driver were all who remained in the area, he finally agreed to leave. Unlike most of the Allied troops in Malaya, Lieutenant Colonel Cumming was not taken prisoner when Singapore surrendered in February, but rather led a dozen men to the coast, taking a small boat and escaping to Sumatra and thence to Ceylon. He rose to brigadier and commanded the 63rd Indian Infantry Brigade in the Burma Campaign. He retired from the Indian Army in 1947 after 31 years of service, and later worked for the police force in Cyprus in the 1950s. He finally died in Scotland in 1971, 2 months short of his 75th birthday.